Let's go to Stu, who has been patiently waiting. Hello, Stu.
Hey Bart, how are you?
Pretty good. You got a hand for us, Stu?
I do. It won't be as exciting as the last hand, but
You didn't blast off 10,000 with King 4?
yeah, Maryland Live, 2-5. The buy-in is anywhere from 300, I think, is the minimum to 1,000 at the max, and it's eight-handed.
By the way, so is this the largest game that goes at Maryland Live right now?
Um, I think they definitely have a 5-10 now, and I think they have a 5-10 no max game as well.
Does Michael Phelps ever kick around there anymore? Or
I have not seen Michael Phelps there.
okay, so my story with Maryland Live was we had a meetup game. Well, not a meetup. We had a CLP meetup back in 2014. This is actually when I recorded the first Crush C-Bet bluffing matrix. Because if anyone listened to that who's a subscriber, I was talking about how East Coast players are a bunch of fucking whiners, I think is what I said on the quote unquote, was as I was playing at the Borgata. But I bartered a couple poker lessons with this guy that flew me down, like a flight lesson from Princeton, New Jersey, down to Maryland Live. But the thing about Maryland Live is it's right next to BWI. So we flew this little Cessna into BWI, which was just insane, even thinking about that. Southwest planes coming in every single minute. We're like, you know, but okay. So
That's
2-5, yeah, 2-5, 300 to 1,000. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm the effective stack. I have maybe around 900 in front of me.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then the main villain is in MP2. So it limps MP1 limps, MP2 limps, and I have in my notes here. It's been a while since I played this hand, so I had to go back and look at my notes. The hijack limps, and I'm in the small blind. And I would say that it's funny because I commented that the MP1 and MP2 were competent regs, and somebody said to me, well, if they were competent, they wouldn't be limping from MP1, MP2. So maybe I should reassess what that means. But limps to me in the small blind, I've got ace of clubs, eight of clubs, eight of hearts.
Okay.
And I opened for 25, which I know is light.
So are you from Boston, by the way?
I am originally from Peabody, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right down the street from me now.
Yeah,
right down the street from me.
Still comes through after all these years.
Yeah, sometimes people will call it out with me very, very occasionally. But 2 limps, hijack limps, so 3 limps here in the small blind with 8-8, and you just go to 25. That seems awfully small. What's the standard open size in this game?
The standard open is 15 to 20.
Right, and you're out of position, and you've got 3 people that limped in ahead of you. Right, I mean, I would make this, at least the standard open size plus the limps plus more because you're out of position. So 35 or 40 here?
Yeah, I think in the moment I was thinking that, like eights are kind of tough, to play multi-way.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to bloat the pot, but I can see that being a fair criticism that it's still too light.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a little bit small. I mean, it's not even necessarily thinning the field, it's just getting maximum value for your hand. But okay, so you go to 25.
Yeah, so I opened to 25, and everybody calls, which is no surprise. The 3 limpers call.
So 3 callers, so the pot's like 100.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, like 100 and yep.
Okay.
Okay, so flop is a good flop. The flop is 8-2-6 rainbow.
So top set.
Yep, top set.
Yep.
And but it's such a dry board, so I did opt to bet small, and I bet 35. And
I think that's fine. I think that's fine. 35 into 100, right? 35 into 100, something like that.
Yeah, 35 into 105 is what I have down, but it might have been 100.
Yeah. Okay, so here bet's 35. Okay. I mean, you can sometimes go for a check raise here too, but I'd rather not have top set. I'd rather sort of have middle set. I think by default, another small stakes exploit is that when you want to think about slow playing at the mid stakes, just bet small instead.
Yeah, I felt good about so far. I felt good about the way the hand's going. We'll continue on, and we can see. But I definitely didn't want to check, and I definitely felt betting small.
I don't think that checking is like criminal here. Mm-hmm. If you check though, and somebody bets, I think, and I think I might have actually misplayed this a little bit last night where this happened, but I actually think I said you can sometimes go for a check raise. You probably want to. I think you should check call if you're going to check. It depends on what happens around. It's kind of weird. I don't usually put myself in those spots, but it just seems like if you check raise, like you're blocking just a ton of the value. I mean, I guess you could get called by draws and stuff like that, but that didn't happen. You bet 35. That's fine. So your hero bet's 35. Okay.
Yeah. So I bet 35, and
Yeah.
everyone actually calls again. So that's pretty good at this
So
point.
so you put in, so you get 140 in. So now the pot is like 240.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And the turn comes, and the turn is the queen of spades.
Okay.
So obviously it actually brings a backdoor flush draw.
Okay. So it does bring a backdoor flush draw.
It does. And it took me a while to remember, but the other spade is the six of spades, because I think that's kind of relevant with the way the hand goes.
Sounds like it is. I mean, the thing is that especially when this is a pretty extreme example, right? When you're holding top set and you get it like a card like this, right, which is the definition of a disconnected high card that has absolutely no connection with the board, and you bet again and then you get called again, you have to be very, very cognizant of a backdoor flush draw. Now, it looks like you don't have the 8 of spades, so 8x of spades would be possible. And obviously, like the straight draws that contain spades. It's weird, though, because like I would probably just go small again here. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if you bet here and just everybody folds. It's just one of these things where it's just not going to connect. Unless they have something, like
Right.
they're slow playing something,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so anyway, I'm definitely when it wasn't my favorite card because it brought the back door, was especially against three opponents. So I thought for a little bit about how I wanted to play this, and I actually bet large. I actually bet 200 into the pot of 245.
Well, actually, I might take that back. 9-10 turns double gutted here. It is multi-way, though. I mean, obviously, right, if you want to play balanced and you're balancing and you're structuring correctly with some, you've got a rainbow board, which means you're going to have, if you had a suited hand, you've got 3 possibilities of backdoor flushes. And this is a disconnected high card, so you very well might just barrel off again for this sizing. So, yeah, I mean, balance-wise, yeah, you can definitely go 2/3. I just wonder, just kind of looking here on this paper, like, because you cover the board so much here, and the queen is so disconnected, like, what is calling you? Besides backdoor spades and 9-10. So you go 200, okay.
Or another set, like bottom set.
Well, okay, yeah, I mean, we're not worried about that. So hero bet's 200, yep.
All right, so I bet 200 and 245. MP1 thinks like a really long time and then calls. And then MP2 snap calls.
So MP1 calls.
Yeah.
And MP2 calls, snap calls.
Yep, snap calls. And then the hijack just snap folds.
So 200 call now, 440. The pot is
845.
440, 640, 8. Okay, 845. And you obviously you put in 250, so you've got like 650 left, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yep. Well, I gotta be 100% honest with you, Stu. You have to be very, very cognizant of a spade coming in here at the end. Like very, very cognizant.
Yeah, no, I am, and when I get the 2 callers, especially when the one guy tanks, I really think MP1 is on the drawer, but I'm not sure, right? So then the river comes, and the river is a terrible card. It's the king of spades.
Well, that's really interesting because not only does the backdoor spade come in, but when you start to think about, although I don't even know how much people are, I mean, this pot was multi-way from the start, so the ranges should be tighter. Because I was saying, like, if somebody was holding on with like 8x, now it's not only a spade, but it's another card that would lessen the hands that your opponent might call you with that are worse, right? Because it's another disconnected high card. So you could make the case that it's one of the worst spades. Obviously, there are other spades that can bring in straights too. But I'm just saying in terms of what you can get called by here, I think you're going to have to check and evaluate here. I think there's a really, really good chance that you're beat the way that this hand's gone down.
Yeah, and obviously
really
the ace of spades would have been better, right? Because if the ace of spades comes and somebody's not hanging on with ace X of spades.
I mean, if the ace of spades comes, there's probably less combination. If everyone's playing a suited ace in this game, like limp calling, there's probably, it's going to cut down some of the chances of making a backdoor flush because they can't have ace eight suited or ace deuce suited or something like this. I feel really, really weird about this hand.
No, you're actually making me feel better about the way I played it. So I actually did decide to check.
Someone saying block bet 285. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. If I see some stuff that happens in front of me, I might even get on board. It's hard at this level to fold against one person because some of the crazy shit that I've seen. But like, for example, let's say it goes check. Some guy goes like 500 call. I think I'm snap folding at the end.
Right.
I don't know if block betting here is better than possibly check folding, to be honest with you.
And I'll tell you in a second where I went, but I did check, and then in hindsight, because I thought about this hand a lot, like in the next week or so, as we do as poker players, right? And I was like, man, I really should have like looked at the hand from what would I call if somebody bet, right? So would I call 300? Like maybe I should have bet 300. You know what I mean? And so I was trying to reframe it from that perspective.
Well, I mean, I've talked about block bets extensively. Remember, you have to get called by worse for a block bet to be in order, right? And I'm not usually a huge fan of check calling the rivers. So anytime somebody's like check call at the end, like I'm seeing a bunch of check calls in the chats, there's got to be a reason to check call. And those reasons are someone value owning themselves, which means they're betting a hand that's worse than yours for value, or they're bluffing. This particular example on this run out of queen six deuce queen king, 8-6 deuce queen king, I don't know if either one of those are really in play. Maybe once in a while someone was slow playing sixes or deuces, or maybe, but the king and the queen are so inconsequential. This is different than if like the turn was an ace, where you have all these aces up types of hands, right? People aren't playing like queen 8, queen 6, king deuce, king 6. So anyways, okay, so here are checks.
Yeah, so I check, and the MP1, which is the villain that I put on the draw, are actually checks, which surprised me. And then MP2 actually bet 600.
So check, MP1 checks.
Yeah.
MP2, who you said snap called turn, bet 600.
Correct. After MP1 tanked for a long time, so he did have a lot of time to consider his hand because MP1 took so long.
I mean, yeah, there's like 9-7, there's 9-10. These are open-ended straight draws that might bluff now, right? But I don't think that MP2 is betting any value here that you beat. So it's interesting that you have a bluff catcher in this particular spot. The fact that MP1 checks here, because this is not a spot where I feel like a guy in the middle is going to be checking they're going to be checking backdoor flushes all that much, because it's going to get checked through a ton. So I think most of the time MP1 does not have a flush here. So you get that information that you can beat MP1. So now you can almost look at it like more of a heads up scenario. And yeah, there are hands here like 9-7 and 5-7 and 9-10 that could bluff here in this spot. So I think I would probably, like I said, I think I'm probably not going to check fold here just with the live spaz factor. I'm probably going to call, but if MP1 did bet and like 600 then call, I think it's a snap fold. If it went MP1 600, MP2 call, or MP1 600, MP2 shove, I think I'm snap folding. So
yeah. I did tank a bit, and I actually did fold.
So hero folds. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I did check fold.
I think it's probably pretty close.
Yeah, I just felt it's super weak, and actually MP1 then tanks for a while.
Thank you, Dynamis, for telling us that the backdoor flush got there. Hopefully, I'm hoping that you entered midway through the hand.
Yeah, there you go.
Live chat. Yeah. So anyways, hero folds. Yeah.
Yeah, hero folds, and MP1 is like, it's one of those conversations like, oh, I wish you called. I want to see what he has. And he goes back, and then he folds as well. So MP2 does take the pot down.
So you never found out what the guy had?
Never found out what he had.
Oh, that might be.
I offered him $20. He wouldn't tell me what he had.
That might be one where I might. Yeah, I would offer him money. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess one. It sounds like you agree it's a pretty tough spot. And
I do. I kind of lean towards call just because I can see some
yeah,
stuff that misses here. And because, like I said, for those reasons, I don't think MP1 has a flush when he checks here. So it is, you kind of like face it like a heads up type of bet. So yeah.
So I guess from maybe this is like thinking a move or two ahead, but that's why as I thought about the hand in the week that followed, I'm like, man, like should I foreseen if he bets, I'm going to fold, and therefore does a block bet make sense? And I know it's kind of like a convoluted way to look at it, but
Well, I mean, check folding is a viable line here. No, because here's the thing: I would call because I see busted straight draws out here, right? So block betting would mean that you'd have to get called by something that's worse. So that's where people conflate and contrive block betting, right? You don't want to prevent somebody from bluffing. You don't want.
right.
I mean, I hear that a lot. You don't want to bet. I don't want to bet because people say I bet the river because I bet 300 because I didn't want the guy to bet 700. Why? Because if you checked and you bet 700, can't you just evaluate whether or not you're going to call or not based upon, theory? So, it's never a situation where it's like, I'm betting what I want to get called. You can sometimes freeze your opponents if you can get called by worse. And we talked, I think last week about sometimes, or 2 weeks ago, with blocking the turn. You can sometimes do that from out of position too. So,
Okay, fair enough. I mean, just to wrap it up. I mean, part of it for me was I thought his sizing was incredibly value, and that if he was going to bluff, he would probably bet a little more.
yeah. Yeah. Well, no, that's a tough one, man. Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. See ya.